Passage is in Galatians, the 6th chapter, and it says that we are to bear one another's burdens. And the title of this one is The Burden Lifters. Hi folks, I'm Bob Martin at Bob Martin's Burden Lifters on Highway 16, just before you get to the Wawa across the street from the Burger King. Now, you've seen me on commercials where I'll say, you got a burden, we'll lift it up. You got 2 tons of steel in your backyard, you call up Bob Martin's Burden Lifters on Highway 16 just before you get to the Wawa across the street from the Burger King. We'll come up with a couple front end loaders and we'll pick the burdens up. Easy peasy, put it in pie, no problem. And I've made you the promise that if you've got a burden, we'll pick it up. But I've got to come here and apologize to you today because throughout my years serving you at Bob Martin's Burden Lifters on Highway 16 just before you get to the Wawa across the street from the Burger King, we've always been able to keep that promise. But a lady calls me up just a few weeks ago. Her name's Mrs. Wachowski, and Mrs. Wachowski says, I've got a burden. I said, easy peasy, put it in pie, no problem. We'll show up at your house, a couple of front end loaders, we'll pick it up. So I show up at her house, and Mrs. Wachowski, there's no burden. She says, my husband's out of work. I got a teenager that's about to drop out of school, and my mom's in the hospital. Now I've made a promise. You got a burden, I'll lift it up. But this is a gigantic burden in Mrs. Wachowski's heart. And do you know the damage that a front end loader will do to the human heart? It's terrible. So I started thinking to myself, how can we lift this burden? So I found out she's a member of a church. She just hasn't been in a while. So I call up the pastor and I say, hey, this is Bob Martin at Bob Martin's Burden Lifters on Highway 16, just before you get to the Wawa across the street from the Burger King. You know, we're the guy that lifts burdens. And I shared that Mrs. Wachowski's going through a bad time. He didn't even know. So he calls up the youth worker who invites the teenager to something. Turns out a couple people sit with her at the hospital. Somebody helps her husband get a part-time job. Now, I'm not here to tell you that all the burdens are gone, but little bit by little bit they've begun to be lifted up till all of a sudden she doesn't have such a burden on her heart. So here's why I'm here on television to tell you today. If you've got 2 tons of steel in your backyard, call us up at Bob Martin's Burden Lifters on Highway 16 just before you get to the Wawa across the street from the Burger King. We'll show up with some front end loaders and get it up there. But if you got a neighbor with a problem, don't call me. Because Jesus said, you guys are the burden lifters. That's the end of my story.